guys, welcome to Glennda Live. And this week on hashtag Ask Glennda B, we are talking about a question that some people ask me when we go into the listing presentation, especially when it's 98 degrees in June in Atlanta, Georgia. And so this is really important, and you probably haven't ever thought about this. But did you know that studies show people stay 30% longer when they're looking at a house if it is cool inside in the summer or warm inside in the winter? That is an actual statistic from the National Association of Realtors. So if you keep your home nice and cool, it's 98 degrees out here, it's like June 13th, I think. It's like 98 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia. You walk in, if the house is warm, people really don't have that need to stay longer. And we want them to stay as long as possible. So what is the best temperature for your home to be at in the middle of the day during a showing in the summertime in Atlanta, Georgia? And that is 72 degrees. So a lot of people think that it's a little bit cooler, but it's not. Studies show that you sleep the best if it's between 64 and 66. But for showing your home, if it is 98 degrees outside, it should be 72 degrees inside. All right, so you always kind of want that nice, comfortable, cool, because people are inside, they're looking, they're getting comfortable. And if your home's listed with Glennda Baker and Associates, there's a bottled water there for them, and so they can, quench their thirst. It's awesome. Now, in the wintertime, a lot of people don't really realize what makes people want to buy a house in the wintertime, but warmth. So if the fire's going, if there's cookies baking, smell of cookies baking, that it really makes them feel at home. It makes them feel cozy. And remember, you want everybody to see themselves living in that home. That's when people make a buying decision, when they can see themselves living in that home. So it's really important. So let's say that it's 35 degrees outside in the wintertime in Atlanta, Georgia. It never gets really cold here. It's not like, for God's sake, we're in Boston, where there's going to be like snow or anything crazy like that. So you're in Atlanta, it's 35, 40 degrees. You want to make sure, again, that it's set at about 72 degrees. That is the magic number in Atlanta, Georgia, 72 degrees. So 72 degrees, you're not too cold, you're not too hot. And if you got some cookies around, you can always, have some nice chocolate chip cookies. And you think that that's old and hokey, but quite honestly, it's really the truth. People want to see themselves living in that home, and that's when they make a buying decision. So always keep in mind that if your home's listed with Glennda Baker and Associates, we have bottled waters and cookies for everybody to eat when they come and look at your home. So I wanted to pass that little tidbit along to you guys. And I had that question come up actually this morning because I'm going to show a house, and I think that the person who lives there keeps it a little bit too warm. And it's a very large house, so it's quite expensive to heat and cool. But I wanted her to keep it cooler, so that's why I wanted to kind of pass that along to you. All right, and our second question today comes from Martha O. And that is, the time limits in the contract, how do those really apply? And that's a great question. And I would love to talk about the time limits because Mary Barstow, who is our closing coordinator, will tell you that it makes me absolutely insane when other parties in the contract think that the time limits are written in pencil. They are not. These are hardcore time limits. This is black and white. Okay? So there's not an opportunity to move those. People schedule the movers, they schedule the inspector, they schedule the surveyor, the lender schedules the appraiser based on these time limits. So you've got to work within them. And this weekend, we had an opportunity to work with one of our clients, and we were in the due diligence period working through some inspection repairs and requests. And what is really interesting is that we sent over the amendment for the due diligence, and the listing agent chose not to respond within the due diligence period. And that creates a huge problem for the buyer. The problem that creates for the buyer is that if the inspection amendment is not negotiated and concluded within the due diligence period, then the buyer buys the house as is. And we didn't want to buy it as is. Obviously, that's why we submitted an inspection amendment. And so the listing agent didn't respond. So it forced us to include a special stipulation within that amendment stating that if this amendment was not accepted by the seller and delivered back to us prior to the expiration of the due diligence, that this was our notice to terminate the contract. And nobody wants to terminate the contract. The buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell. But it's these kind of items that people really don't realize make a huge difference in the seamlessness of a contract, and from contract to closing, making it successful and getting you to the closing table. That is really, really important. So fortunately for us, the listing agent was like, oh yeah, we'll get it signed tomorrow. But we didn't want to jeopardize the condition that the property would have to be accepted by the buyer or their earnest money. So when you are dealing with time limits, it is Glenda's opinion, as it is everybody's opinion, it should be, that the time limits are not written in pencil, all right? That is my pet peeve. So everybody will tell you we like to stick to the time limits. We don't like to change them or extend them. So if you are in a contract or you have any questions about real estate or anything that we can help you with, we would love the opportunity to help you and work with you. Because what's really important to us is our ability to connect with our community and our ability to help our client. So we have a full team here at Glennda Baker and Associates. I am the team lead, and we have Eveline and Victoria and Amber and Elizabeth, who are licensed agents. And we have Kelly, who is the double checker of the checkers, and Victoria and Mary, they kind of keep us on track. Victoria handles from listing to contract. Mary handles from contract to closing. And Kelly kind of spans the whole thing. She makes sure that everybody's in line, including me mostly. So if you are thinking about buying or selling real estate, we would love the opportunity to help you. Just remember, we provide the backdrop, you create the memories. And it has been great coming to you from Glennda Live and Ask Glennda B. We'll talk soon, and I hope you have a fantastic day.